desperate cry when you put your baby down in the crib? I've heard it hundreds of times, both as a mom of 5 and as a pediatric sleep consultant. If you're watching this video, I'm guessing you're dealing with it right now. That feeling when your baby seems to absolutely hate their crib can be totally overwhelming and frustrating, especially when you're already exhausted. But here's what most parents don't realize. Your baby doesn't actually hate their crib. I know. What they hate is how and perhaps when they're being put in it. I made the same mistakes as a first-time mom before finally figuring out how to get my oldest to sleep consistently in her crib. With these same techniques, it's been smooth sailing for the other 4. Today, I'm sharing the exact techniques that actually work to get your baby sleeping in their crib. Stay with me because your nights are about to get a whole lot quieter. If this is your first time here at the channel, I'm Annie with Mom's First Steps, where we talk about all things pregnancy, postpartum, and motherhood with the goal of helping new moms enter motherhood with confidence. And before we dive in, if you're struggling with your baby's sleep, I've put together a free newborn sleep guide with my top 10 strategies for establishing healthy sleep habits from day 1, plus sleep schedules through age 4 months. You can grab it using the link in the video description below. Now, let's get into these crib mistakes and what to do about them. Strategy number 1, if your baby doesn't like their crib, put them down when they are most likely to fall asleep and stay asleep. So what are the couple of things that you really need to take into consideration here? Number 1, you need to follow wake windows. A wake window is the amount of time between when a baby wakes up from their prior sleep and when they go down for their next sleep. So for example, if they wake up from a nap at noon and they go down to sleep at 1 o'clock, that would be an hour-long wake window. So for a newborn, a teensy tiny newborn, 45 to 60 minutes is the maximum amount of time that they should be awake. So when you start getting to that 45-minute mark from when they last woke up, you should start looking for signs of tiredness, which are also called sleepy cues, which I'll get into in a minute here. When you see those two things in combination, you know that it is time to put your baby down to sleep. Okay, let's get into the sleepy cues now. So what are sleepy cues? They're little signs and body language that your baby is tired and ready to be put down for sleep. Wouldn't it be great if newborns could just tell us what they need? Yes, it would. I would certainly love that. But the reality is they can't. So we have to learn how to recognize the little signs and signals that they are ready for different things. And so for sleep, what you look for is your baby might yawn. They might start losing eye contact if they've been interacting with you. They'll start to look away and not be as interested. Or rubbing eyes is another telltale sign. So once you see those sleepy cues and your baby has been awake for long enough, i.e. it's been 45 to 60 minutes, but not too long. You don't want to go over the wake window. You want to hit them right in that 45 to 60 minute mark. That is when your baby is tired and they are most likely to have a good sleep, meaning most likely to fall asleep quickly and to stay asleep. This is a great time to put them down for a nap in their crib. So line up the wake window, look for the sleepy cues, and that 45 to 60 minute mark, that's when it's time to go down in the crib. Give it a try. If you've been putting them down before that wake window is over or after when they're perhaps overtired, they're not likely to go down nicely. You're likely to put them down and they'll immediately start crying and wake up. Strategy number 2, you are going to check them for signs of discomfort, such as gas or hunger, and resolve it if needed. So of course, our baby is not likely to go to sleep in a crib or really anywhere else if they are hungry or uncomfortable or gas. So it's always good to try to troubleshoot these things if you're having a lot of trouble and if you're getting all these other tips right and you're doing everything correct. They could be hungry or they could be gassy. So here's a couple things to try. Look for signs that your baby's hungry. So if your baby's hungry, you'll see them start to root. They'll put their hands to their mouth. They'll start smacking their lips. And another good thing, and this is why I keep track of the times of my feedings when I'm nursing so I can help troubleshoot why my baby might be fussing. If it's been more than 2 hours since their last feeding, your baby might be hungry again. So again, that's some of the value in keeping track and timing feedings. It's not so that new moms need one more thing to keep track of, because we certainly don't. It's to help troubleshoot, okay, my baby's crying and it's been 2 hours and 15 minutes since they last ate. They're probably hungry versus, ooh, they're crying. It's only been 45 minutes since they ate. It's probably something else. Okay, and then you'll also want to know the signs that your baby is gassy. So if your baby's gassy, they likely will have a red face. They're going to be kind of kicking a little bit. They'll bring their knees up to their chest. They'll just sometimes arch their back. They'll look like they're really uncomfortable. And they'll also have this high-pitched cry when they're gassy as well. So learn these signs, learn to recognize them in your baby. These are kind of general standard for all babies, but of course your baby might have their own kind of special variations of these that you'll come to recognize over time. But that's another important thing. If you're trying to put your baby down for a nap in their crib, when they're gassy or hungry or otherwise uncomfortable, we're not going to have much success. So it's best to resolve whatever's going on first, make sure that they're comfortable, settled, and ready to go, and then try to nap them in their crib. Next up, use a swaddle and a sound machine. So many of you may have heard of this concept of the 5S's. And if you watched some of my videos, you've definitely heard about this before because I absolutely love these and swear by these. These techniques were popularized and the term 5S's were kind of coined, so to speak, by Dr. Harvey Karp. But they've been around for a long time, and they're techniques that have been used by mothers for literally millennia to comfort their babies. Essentially, the concept is that you want to recreate the environment of the womb, and that will bring your baby comfort. So in this case, swaddling helps make your baby feel all cozy and mushed up just like they were when they were inside of you. And additionally, it helps reduce the startle reflex. So you may notice your baby will sometimes throw their arms over their head, both of them, but I'm holding my little guy now, so I can't demonstrate. But they'll do that. That's called their startle reflex or their moral reflex, which is totally normal for newborns to have, but they can wake themselves up out of a sleep. So a swaddle is a great way to keep them all cozy and to help them not wake themselves up while sleeping. And then additionally, I'm a huge fan of using a sound machine for sleep. Again, not new advice if you've listened to any videos about newborn sleep on my channel before. This also aligns with the 5S's, brings baby comfort. It can also help drown out household noise. If you have 5 kids like I do with 4 screaming banshees running around the house at all times, you don't want that constantly waking up the baby. And so it can drown out some of that noise for you and just give baby comfort. Get those 5S's going because they can help as part of your strategy to get your baby sleeping in your crib. Number 4 for how to help your baby sleep in the crib, have an optimized and a consistent sleep environment. Use some of these guidelines to make sure that the environment for your baby is optimized to help them have a comfortable, a good, a safe. Optimal room temperature for a baby is 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. So make sure that regardless of which season it is, that temperature is in your baby's room. Use a sound machine. We just talked about why you want to do that. That's, again, part of the sleep environment. It can also become a powerful cue telling baby that, oh, it's time for sleep because my sound machine just went on. They'll learn that over time. Shades or blackout curtains, so that can be another thing. Get that room nice and dark if you're trying to nap your baby in the middle of the day. I go both ways on this one. I don't always use blackout curtains with my kids. I like to get them used to napping even if it's a little bit lighter out. But again, if you are in a situation where your baby's not sleeping, you're trying to troubleshoot everything, step 1 is try to get them to sleep in their crib. And then later you can work on other things like getting them to nap in different types of environments. So I go ahead and use shades or blackout curtains to dim that light, even if you're trying to nap them during the day. And then lastly here, introducing a consistent, very simple bedtime routine when your baby is a newborn can be really helpful. It's helpful for another reason. Number 1, it empowers you as the mom or as the parent and puts a little bit of control back in your hands that you know what's happening, you know the next step, and you're helping move this process along, which can be awesome. And additionally, it sets a really strong foundation for great sleep habits for your baby. Your baby will start to learn and recognize this routine, and they'll soon learn that, oh, okay, my swaddle just went on, and the sound machine just went on, and the lights are out. Now it's time for sleep. I know what to do. It is a beautiful thing when your baby starts to figure that out. And number 5 here, this is one of the most important ones. So practice at least 1 nap a day in the crib or bassinet starting on day 1. And if you're watching this as, maybe you're a couple of weeks in, don't worry, just start practicing right now. But know that this technique is so gentle and it can be done on even a day 1 old newborn freshly home from the hospital or birthing center. I'm a huge advocate for enjoying all the lovely contact naps. In my opinion, contact naps are my reward for carrying this baby and going through the challenge of childbirth. I love contact naps. So there are other sleep consultants out there that would tell you don't contact nap with your baby, you'll spoil them or ruin their sleep. I don't agree with any of that. I love contact naps and I personally do them every single day while I'm on maternity leave with my baby. However, in addition to the contact naps, I also am a huge advocate for practicing having your baby sleep at least 1 nap in a day starting day 1 home from the hospital in their crib or bassinet, because at the end of the day, that is where they're going to be sleeping. That's the safest place for them to sleep. That's where, you're not going to want to have to hold your baby while they sleep until they're 18 years old and out of your house, right? So you want to get them sleeping eventually in their crib or bassinet overnight. That is the eventual goal. You can start getting them used to that crib environment, used to their bassinet, as early as day one, by simply napping them there once a day. They'll get used to the smells, the sounds, the feel of the room, the experience of being, laying horizontally on their back, not being held by somebody. All of that is new and different, and it's important to expose them to that experience as early as possible, at least once a day, so that they start to get used to it. And so if you're challenged with your baby hating the crib right now, maybe you haven't done that much yet, but it's not too late. You can still do that. So even when it's challenging, definitely still practice at least one nap a day in the crib or bassinet. Make sure that you again use these other techniques kind of stacked together, right? Have it be when you have a very clear sign of tiredness, you've hit the wake window, the baby's recently fed and their diapers changed and they're not gassy. Like, stack these things up together and practice once a day in your crib or bassinet. I promise you, you will not regret it. It will really help you and it will help your baby. If baby has only ever experienced being held while they sleep, or being rocked to sleep, or being fed to sleep, again, I'm not saying never do these things. I'm saying if that is the only thing that they've ever experienced in their whole life, they will eventually associate that thing with sleep, and they will only be able to sleep if that thing directly precedes it. So for example, if you always rock your baby to sleep every single time, they're always going to need to be rocked to sleep until you have to break that habit somehow. Later on down the road, with some of these more aggressive sleep training techniques that I personally don't like, that I avoid, because I do these things right on the front end. Try stacking all of these different tips. If you think your baby hates their crib, well, they might right now, but it's really about how you're putting them down and when you're putting them down. So utilize those 5 tips, stack them together, and I know that very quickly your baby will start to be able to sleep in their crib. And if you are still looking for more help, again, just a reminder, you can find my free newborn sleep guide with those 10 great tips and sleep schedules down in the description below, for people that really want to turn around their baby's sleep, or really want to develop that super solid foundation that will help them. I've got a better baby sleep guide that's also available in the description. It's a digital ebook that will teach you everything you need to know about baby sleep, ideal for newborns through age 4 months. If you liked this video, please like it and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to see you in the next video. Thanks.